Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Matt Crofts. This is the Simple Fund Tax Planning Tips and Tricks webinar. We've got you for about 40 minutes to show you some of the tips and tricks of getting ready for the new financial year. Those who don't know me, my name's Matt Crofts. I wear numerous hats. I'm SMSF trustee, CPA, SSA, and I guess my day job is running the product, Simple Fund 360, head of product. I'm joined today by Alyssa. Alyssa's got 5 years experience in practice. Alyssa joined us last year during difficult times, as we all knew, and is now our product advocate to show you a few things today. Welcome, Alyssa.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for having me.
No, certainly a pleasure. Our real objective we were talking about earlier is really just to teach, not so much the tax planning, and give really just a tip, at least if they can take one tip away from today, how to use the software better. And that's really what we want to achieve, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Even if it's one sort of feature that you didn't know about that can make this time of year smoother or easier or more efficient. That was the aim of today.
Let's hope we can achieve that.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll make a start. A little bit of housekeeping. This webinar is getting recorded, so if you need to run off, we'll be sending an email out with a link to the recording, everyone that's registered. Please ask us questions during the session in the Q&A question box. I have got Krish and Sid from my team, two very experienced CPAs, SMSF experts that do all the hard work, so they can answer any of your questions today. Just type those as we go through. Any sort of outstanding ones, we might get some time at the end. Just a disclaimer, look, we're not giving tax advice here. It's not tailored to your individual circumstances or your client's circumstances. It's really just how to use the software better. There's a lot of tax webinars out there already that talk about strategies and SMSF planning. We wanted to make this very practical, okay? It's not tax advice. So over to you, Alyssa. What are we going to cover today?
Excellent. So as Matt said, it's not focused on tax advice. We're talking more about how to get the most out of the software and tips and tricks and features that you might not be aware of that you could be using at this time of year. So obviously 2021 has been a very busy year. I'm sure a lot of you have sort of off the back of working from home, coming back into the office. It has been a busy year. So we're going to cover, I suppose, what the software can do for you. We're going to look at the entity workflow screen, transaction entry, and how you can get those transactions that you might not have in the software yet so that we can look at current and up-to-date information. This is obviously a very unique window of time that we have prior to the end of the financial year to make sure that you're able to offer your clients the best advice to put them in or in the financial year for them in a tax favourable position. So we're going to look at that. We'll talk about the Engage by BGL app and look at some custom reports and letters that you can put together for your clients or for internally for you to be reviewing where the funds are at. Matt, did you want to add anything with that?
Oh, look, certainly, Alyssa, you sort of covered it. It is certainly a special year, not just with the COVID, but, there was early release coming in, so clients might want to top up their super. It's really that opportune time for your accountants to really plan out the next year for your own clients. There's NCC caps changing, the concessional caps, the non-concessional caps changing. There's changes in the budget you've got to be aware of. There's really some big opportunities to look at your T-bar reporting. So we're going to cover some of that, how to use that in the software, and even changes in the downsize of contributions. So a lot to sort of show you and a lot for you guys to be aware of, and hopefully you'll get something out of this today. And that's on top of your regular work as well. You've still got to check your minimum pensions, make sure you're complying and make sure you're meeting the concessional. And this is really why, Alyssa, we designed this screen. It goes back about 2 years ago in clients really wanting to see a much more holistic picture. We did all the basic fund reporting and did all the, the complexity around the reporting, but clients wanted to see the overall picture. So this is what we call the entity workflow screen. And I'll jump into a bit of a live demo and just show you some bit of practical tips, how you can use this to your advantage. So it's really the first screen when you come into the software, and a lot of people just jump straight through it and don't just select a fund. They just jump straight into their work and don't really realize its usefulness. So first thing I'd say is you've got this little option over here where you can expand the panel, and that really puts the focus on the filters. Okay, what you can actually see here. So this is across your whole firm. Okay, if you haven't been granted access to particular funds, they won't show for you, but if you're full admin like I am here and Alyssa is, you can basically get access. So we're going to narrow it down to SMSFs to start with. I only want to deal with SMSFs. We have got a product in development coming out next month that does do trusts and company reporting, but I'm just going to focus here on SMSF. Then really what I want to do is tax planning for 2021. So once I select the filter in this graph, it pops up here and I can always change it here as well. And sometimes there's extra functionality in these little filters that people miss. All right, the first thing, and really one of these big tax planning opportunities, is the budget came out. Now it's got to go to royal assent, and it should kick in by 1 July. But is planning for your next year. So one of the things you want to think about, one of the good filters we've got here is the age filter. And for those that did read some of the budget reports, you would have seen the downsizer contributions dropped from age 65 down to age 60 now. So if I filter down here, and we've got so many filters now, down to the member's age, what I can do is look for those particular scenarios. So I can click this filter. It's not quite exactly what I want, but I want to find those that are potentially going into that 60 to 65 age bracket. What you can do, right, is I can do that at today's date. Maybe what I want to do is do that from 1 July. That's when this should all be legislated and pushed through. And, I might want to make that 65. Okay, so I can apply that filter. And what you'll see here is it'll now filter those particular funds that have got members at that age. And a lot of people don't know this button exists either. All right, so this is where I can quickly just see within that, without having to go into the fund, who the members are, a little bit about them, what their age is at 30th of June. So this member's turning 60. All right, so that's got a fund with a member turning 60. There's a few others here, and this one here as well has got that information. Now you can export this at any point in time. You can export that member information using this button here. Okay, download Excel. We all love Excel, don't we, Alyssa?
Yep, we certainly do.
Best tech ever invented for us accountants.
Yep.
And you can export that member data. So then you can do like a mail merge, okay? You can use that data, it's just a basic CSV file. You can use that to do a mail merge and send out, be proactive and say, look, there's a downsizer. There might be an opportunity here to come in, have a meeting with us. Okay, so that's the age filter. Anything, Alyssa, you can think of? There's other planning opportunities around ages.
I suppose identifying clients potentially that would need to meet the work test.
It's a great one. Yep, the work test, certainly there's changes in the work test with that 65 to 67 year age bracket, and also in the budget for non-concessional, where they're making the work test being removed. So there's something that, you can use this age filter for as well and have a look at those ages, 65 to 67. They're very key ages. People have now got opportunity to put more into super during those periods.
Yep, absolutely.
So there's a great tax planning tip on that. The other one really to be aware of, it's if you don't do that much super, there's so much change that's gone on in the last couple of years, is the total super balance. Now, the total super balance can restrict how much you can contribute. There's a lot of contributions, from spouse contributions to top-up contributions, the concessional top-up contributions, where effectively you're bringing forward, if you didn't hit the 25K of concessional contributions. That really started 1 July 2018. So there's a great tax planning opportunity this year. You know, we're now in the 2020, finishing up for 2021. So they haven't made much concessional. You know, it was really brought in for working mums or dads that may not have been working, took a break during a period and may want to top up their concessionals. So this is limited though. You can't do it. Well, there'd be two things you'd want to be planning for. One is, you know, do you want to get that tax deduction to put a personal concessional in? You know, you'd want to have a bit of taxable income. The other one is your TSB, so your total super balance. So we've updated the total super balance filter here to really help you find those particular scenarios. So this limit, right, is your total super balance. The challenge with your total super balance is more and more clients have an industry fund and an SMSF. Yep. You know, they may even have multiple industry funds and an SMSF. We don't see many with multiple SMSFs, but we do actually record if they do have the same member in two funds in 360. But that TSB, total super balance, you really want to be looking at this 500K limit. All right, they've got to be under that, and I can apply that. So you're still keeping these filters on. I just want SMSF, and really this limit is from 30th of June. So you're looking back at 30th of June 2020. All right, for this particular, it looks at your total super balance. That was reported to the ATO in last year's annual return. So the ATO's got that information, and you've got that information here as well. So you're looking for applying that. And again, we've got these various funds here with these members. I can then filter this down and have a look. And there should be one of these members with a TSB. It was here. Yeah, he's got a very small total super balance under the 500K. So that's a tax planning where, again, you can export this information out. Anyone that's got a TSB below 500K, you've got a planning opportunity to top up. You know, you could almost get about 75K of, you know, 2 years of 25K if they hadn't contributed, plus this year, you know, that's 75K that you can get in as concessional. So that's filtering this report to do some tax planning, all right, but no tax advice. Okay, so that's an opportunity there. And these are some of the things, probably one of the real challenging ones, and we'll talk a little bit about this further, is you want to be thinking about is this NCC. The non-concessional contribution has been indexed from 1 July 2021. I got that right, Alyssa? Yeah. 1 July, you know, coming up, not too far away, a month and a half. The concessional has gone up to 27,500 and the non-concessional is going up from 100 to 110. So that also presents an opportunity to filter the TSBs as well. Okay, what you really want to be thinking about here, and I've seen various tax planning strategies from HEFRON through to Smarter SMSF that talk much more in detail about this, but you want to be thinking, do I bring forward and put 100K in or over 100K and trigger the bring forwards on NCC this year, or am I better waiting until triggering that next year? And I'm going to be able to bring forward, rather than 300 NCCs, 300K, it's going to be 430,000K. Okay, so again, you can use this filter just to go through your data. I might just clear that one and just start. We've updated it up to 1.7, But what you want to be thinking about with the TSBs there is really this range. If you're going to bring forward those, you really want to be looking around the 1.4 million to the 1.6 million. Obviously, if you go, it's basically including your TSB plus the bring forwards. You can't go over that TSB limit of 1.6 or 1.7. But what it works out to be is really about 1.42 if you're looking at the total super balance as at 30th of June 2021. This filter is currently filtering at 30th of June 2020 because we're talking about the 21 year. So what you'd be really looking for is people really, just in that range and apply that and see what results you're getting. Okay, so then you've got that opportunity to talk to those particular clients. In this case, I've only got one with that, around that 1.4, to talk to them about whether they want to bring forward, if they've, got an opportunity to contribute some more NCCs and want to bring that forward. You want to be careful whether you bring it forward this year, 2021, or 2022. 2022, you'll be able to go up to 430,000. This year, you'll only be able to go up to 300,000. Okay, so that's another great advantage of what the software can help you with, and find that through your client base. And then you've got to deal with the standard tax planning. This is something you would have done, Alyssa, using the software, looking at really your pensions. These are critical to make sure your pensions, let me just find that filter. We've got this filter here. Your pension status, we've updated that for 2021. We did that a few months ago now. We can see on this filter here, those that have met their minimum. Okay, and those that have not met their minimum. Really what you want to be focused here is those that haven't met their minimum. Okay, if they haven't met their minimum, they're not complying. And I know, Alyssa, we know the challenges being in practice, having the fund up to date.
Yep.
Not always possible, easy to say in the software world, hey, have it all up to date, but certainly, how did you manage that in your firm? Did you have a certain group of clients that you focused on keeping more up to date?
So generally the pension funds, we required them to have bank data feeds set up. We also had a point of obviously looking at those funds as early as possible in the tax planning, I suppose, period of time, to be able to, if they didn't have the feed set up, getting those bank statements, getting all the transactions and data in, to be able to give them an accurate picture and let them know what they needed to do. And the same went for contributions as well. If we had clients that sort of had said, hey, I'm in the process of selling a business or an investment property or whatever, and I'd like to put, the proceeds into super, what's the maximum I can put in? We'd go through the process of either obtaining the bank statements or making sure all those transactions were up to date to give them an accurate picture at that point in time, to be able to advise them of what they could sort of do from there. Yeah,
spot on. Here you can see, in this case, it's showing me the position to minimum. This particular member here and this one here is still under their minimum. So this one's got a number of minimums met, but this one has not. And it's certainly a lot harder now with the legislation changes of doing lump sums and minimums. You really got to be on top of these more. So it only gets more challenging. And that sort of leads in, as what Alyssa was saying there, is really, okay, we wanted to give you some tips as well, because we know we've got to make it practical. We know it's hard to keep the funds up to date. So we just wanted to show you some tips, that you can gear up to get the data in so you can make more use. If the data is not complete, these filters are not going to be that valuable. So the next thing we wanted to show here was really our beefed up feed management stream. Okay, we've put a lot of time and effort. A lot of this has come from all our clients' feedback, which is fantastic. And it continues to come in. If you don't know how to give us feedback, it's just in this little button up here. And what you really can do here now is very powerful. You can have a look at your global feeds, as Alyssa was mentioning, trying to keep those up to date. Look, we don't support everyone, but we're continuing to add options where if the bank's not supported, we'll talk a bit about that and step you through. But these are the ones you want to hit. You want to hit this filter attention and see whether you've got any invalid account details here or there's an outstanding signature. You don't want that sitting there. Okay, you can quickly see these filters now, which you couldn't, we redid this whole screen. So I can see, you know, that's the last thing you want to have is a bank statement authority form just sitting there, you know, that hasn't been signed correctly. So it's a good way just to, you know, we will be emailing you, but it's a good way just to be on top of it if you've got a bit of tax planning time to go in and look at these filters.
Yep.
Okay.
You brought us up to our next slide, Matt. So we're going to talk about the transaction entry and obviously that needing to be in place to be providing the client with accurate information. You know, it's wonderful to be able to provide tax planning information for the end of the 2021 financial year, but if the last transaction you've got entered in the software is 30 June 2020, you're missing a pretty big chunk. So we'll speak about the bank feeds, and Matt's obviously touched on that. We'll look at the smart docs, the CSV upload, and then using the smart matching screen, that primarily for if you are having to get bulk information in one go, just the fastest way to be matching that off so that you can focus on the contributions or the pension withdrawals that happened in that fund for the year to be able to provide a clear picture of where they're currently sitting. So with the bank feeds, obviously that is it's a live way to have the information. It's not going to require you going back and forwards to the client to ask for bank statements to be able to get the data in. However, when they are set up, they're set up from the date that the form is authorised and approved. It's not retrospective. So if you are in the situation where you're sort of, I suppose, focusing on getting the bank feeds set up, an alternative to get the data into the software is the Smart Docs. And we're going to get Matt to do a demo for us of the Smart Docs feature, which is amazing. And I'll get him to jump in and show you that.
Sounds good. So just what Alyssa's talking about, you can upload any signed authority forms in here a lot quicker. You can also import a CSV here, okay? I generally find it much faster to do it this way, and Alyssa's the same. We jump in, this is the smart matching. We talk about a lot of this. If you haven't seen it, it is really a game changer in trying to get things happening much more automated. So what we can do here is, you know, with a Macquarie account, maybe you didn't get the authority form signed and there's a gap to fill for the 2021 year. Or maybe it's a new fund and all you've got is some PDF statements. You haven't had time to get the client to sign the authority. So what you can now do is we made this button bigger because people couldn't see it. Data entry import. So what we can do now is basically select a bank statement. So I've either downloaded these or the client's emailed me the bank statements.
Or mailed them in and they've been scanned in. That also works.
Yeah, you can take a photo, just get an image. It doesn't have to be a PDF even. It can just be a photo taken on their mobile phone. So what we've done here is we've converted this one is a PDF, into usable data. So now I wanted to make sure this was real. So I got some 2021 data here and that's basically brought that in, and you'll see the hard links here between this transaction and the actual transaction in the screen. So we're actually putting that into our work papers. We don't have time to talk about work papers today. We'll just import this. All right, and you'll see once it comes in, the first thing you want to be doing is matching off your pensions. So you'll see the machine learning, what we call smart matching, machine learning, is it'll just identify the pension straight away with this word. So you can just basically come in here and click match. When I click match on that, it identifies all the other similar pension payments. Okay, I can do splits. I haven't got enough time to show you, but you can do splits, but it'll then recognize all those other pension payments. So use that to batch it. To batch, you just click recognized here once I've done it. and then just match the transactions. Okay, that gets rid of them in quicker succession. You can create rules. We've done webinars on that. This one's more about tax planning. So have a look at some of our previous webinars on smart matching, but it's quite handy. What the ability to get the data in quick compared to, look, when I started in accounting many, many years ago, way before Alyssa, you know, it'd all be about speed of typing in. You know, you'd start smashing the enter key.
Yep.
Still see some clients do that.
I started off that way.
Yes, your enter key wears down after a while.
Yep.
So the other one I want to show you is this way to import CSV. I actually saw a feedback in, they said it's difficult to import a CSV file. That made me slightly mad, so I thought I'm going to show you how to import a CSV file. I don't think it's hard at all. I just click in here. The quickest way to do it is just go back into this same screen I was before, right? Make sure I'm on Australian dollars. And I've got a CSV file here, right? So I just open it up in Excel, whatever is your poison. I'm using Google Sheets here. Copy, move back, paste. All right. Here, I've just got to get my debits and credits correct, switch that. That's a little swap. If the bank's got it backwards, which they normally do, you swap it. Yes, you swap it and then import it. So this is a great way to fill up the data if you're missing a gap or there's a CSV file you can get and the bank feed is not enabled. That same thing comes in to the software. Straight away, you'll see it's got pension payments. You know, PP, this is how some people just record pension payments. So again, all I have to do is click match on that first one and it should start matching all those others. Don't quite know why it didn't do that, but let's, it's got to be 3 letters. That's right. I just remembered. 3 letters. What I can do is just type PP anyway and match those transactions in a batch. Something to watch out there. We don't identify the transaction until it's got 3 characters. And then, yeah, you just get through. So you can match those pension payments a lot quicker than you could in the past. You're really not even having to go into the chart of accounts much to do the coding. You might need to split some of them if they're doing pension payments for 2 members or 3 members. But that's quite quick. All right, so that's CSV loading to get your tax planning up to date. Covered the smart matching screen. What are we on to next?
Next up, we're looking at the dashboard. So obviously this particular tool is going to be a lot more useful when you have got that data in place and the fund is up to date. So whether that's today's date, whether you've got clients coming in for tax planning meetings, you'd want to have the information up to as current as possible so that the advice you're providing is timely. You know, you don't want to be looking at them and giving them information from, you know, 3 or 4 weeks ago. So just making sure that data is in place, but then utilizing these dashboards to show whether you're going to show the client this while they're sitting in front of you, the dashboard to show more details. It's also where you can record the external contributions. So Matt mentioned before, clients that might have industry funds. I know that we had a number of clients that had industry funds purely for the reason that they'd set them up when they'd first started working or a long time before they'd had the funds to be able to open it or start an SMSF, but it had a great insurance policy. So they'd kept them for the insurance policy that was in that industry fund. So I'll get Matt to jump into the software again and we can have a look at the dashboards.
Thanks, Alyssa. Yeah, spot on. We're certainly seeing that increase there of people having industry funds and hanging on to those even into retirement. So it is something we were getting a lot of requests for, how to put in those contributions that are external to the SMSF. So what you jump into is your member contribution dashboard. This is the easiest way. There's another way to go into the members screen, but I find this the quickest. And I'll just explain, if you haven't seen this screen, this is really where you get all the detail. There's also a very detailed report that spits out the same information. I'm a bit of a visual guy, so it's more, I find this screen easier. And this is what we were talking about before. There's a good opportunity to take advantage of these carry forward unused concessional contribution caps. Now that's a mouthful just in itself, but this is something you never used to have to worry about. This legislation came in 1st of July 2018, and basically you can track 5 years of contributions here, and then the 6th year, it literally just drop out the prior year, so it starts again. So you want to take advantage of this. In this case, we've got Matt Johns here, and you'll see on the dashboard, right, he made a contribution of only 10,700 in the 2020 year. And then in the 2021 year, he's got, 14,000 of concessional and 5,000 in the current year. So that means he's got this 10,700 carrying forward into this year. So you add the 10,700 and the 20, and it effectively means he's still got room for 35,700 of deductible contribution. So you'd be wanting to check, obviously he's got a taxable income to be able to get those deductions if you're going to do a personal contribution. And as I mentioned, you'd want to be checking the TSB, but we're actually showing you he is below the cap in this case here. So you've got that. Now, as Alyssa mentioned, you've also got the challenge of external contributions now. And a lot of clients are saying, you've got to come up a way, Matt, to record these. Your dashboards aren't accurate without this. So that's what we did probably about 3 months ago. So if you haven't been looking at the release notes, just be aware there's this functionality here now where I can put in for any member their external contribution. So let's just do one here. Click add, choose the year. You can go way, way, way back. Let's just say it's Hester, CC. You select the type, concessional in this case, and just put in the amount. So you can now track those in here as well. Okay, once we've forced the screen to refresh so that then all these contribution caps update. You can also put in NCCs that may be made into other funds as well. And you can also see the NCCs bring forward. Okay, that's sort of what I touched on earlier as part of your tax planning. You've got to be careful of the total super balance, that 1.4 limit to be able to bring these forward. But we've made that very clear in this contribution dashboard. Okay, you can see the 3-year carry forward. And as I mentioned earlier, there's an opportunity in, if you wait until 1 July, you could bring that up to 430,000 NCCs, okay? So we've updated for the 2022 year that will show you those updated NCCs as well. All the caps have been indexed. All the warnings have been indexed for the 25 to 27,500. That's all been added to the software a couple of weeks back. All right, so that's really how to put in your externals and how to basically see this information.
Matt, did you want to just jump into the pension dashboard as well, just as another dashboard that could be utilised in a meeting, and then we'll touch on the app? Yeah,
certainly. So you've also got the pension dashboard here. Great to sort of visualise when you've got certainly multiple members to make sure it's got the warnings here about your drawdown. We updated it so you can sort of explain about the 50% reduction. It's very visual. You can, clients can sort of understand it a little bit more, what their minimums are. You can share this screen and only share this screen if you wanted with your client as well. And you can see a little bit of pension forecasting. It's very basic though, that you can see that as well. So you can see, this one's got a heap of pension accounts in here. And you can go forward and back into prior years as well. And you can just hide some of the members. This one's got a lot. Anything you wanted to mention there, Alyssa?
I just think that particularly at that sort of tax planning time, if you do have the opportunity to get the client in front of you, sometimes using these more visual aids rather than talking from a set of financials can be more engaging for them, and it gives them a better understanding of sort of where things are sitting and how, what they need to sort of complete before the end of the financial year. I just sort of found that there was probably more engagement from the client using visual tools than there were talking from financials or just black and white reports.
Perfect. Also, just following on from that, we've also got these same dashboards, and we've updated these in our mobile app as well. Okay, so the same contribution dashboard, the same pension dashboard that I just showed you is also available in the mobile app, what we call Engage by BGL. So clients can download that app and just see, they can't do any transactional, they can't do anything dangerous, but they can basically see where they're tracking. On the right-hand side is just the view of their, again, that sort of visual view of how they're tracking. Number one, they want to see what their member balance is. They're comparing, a lot of people are hanging on to industry funds and they can see what their member balance is as of yesterday. So they're going, well, why can't I see that SMSF balance as well? So this is your opportunity to engage them that little bit more, create a standout point of difference between your accounting firm and Joe Bloggs down the road. And we updated the concessional. We had a number of clients saying, well, look, it'd be great, Matt, if you could show this unused carry forward concessional as well, because then I can explain that to the client. So that same visualization I showed you on the detailed is available in the mobile app as well. And it shows TSB here as well, and whether you're below the caps. We try to make it a little less confusing, but look, I can't make the legislation as simple. I can't control how the government writes legislation, but we do spend a fair bit of time in just trying to make sure this is easy to understand for your clients, so they understand what they can actually achieve. There's huge opportunity of putting money into their SMSF at the moment. So that's available in our app. Alyssa, do you want to talk a little bit about Reports Pack? This is something you did in your firm.
Yes, absolutely. So the firm that I worked in, we obviously had tax planning meetings scheduled with a large number of our clients, particularly the big family groups. And the super team was brought in to discuss the fund and the status and everything else. As part of that process, we obviously reviewed the fund, the transactions, where the fund was sitting at. To be able to, I suppose, offer that advice, we needed to make sure that we had the documents to back up where we got the information from, where it was accurate up until. So we had custom tax planning report packs. And we also used the templates. So I don't know how many of you are currently using the custom templates, but we were able to create a letter that was individual, personalised for the member, that showed their current fund balances, their contribution cap, and sort of provided a bit of a spiel around, please make sure, if you've got any external contributions that we're not aware of, that you're taking them into consideration. But this is what you're able to do prior to 30 June if you're wanting to maximise those caps, potentially get deductions. So I think, Matt, you're going to show us the custom letter that we've put together.
Yes.
Some of those reports that we've included in there as well.
Yeah, I'll just jump in to the software again and go into the reports area. So what Alyssa was able to achieve is create a report pack called Tax Planning and put this letter at the top of it. These are the most common reports that sort of get sent out to just confirm, I guess, one of the big challenges is you may not be aware of all the contributions. Certainly SuperStream may not have been set up properly or set up with the wrong detail. So you may be missing data. So this is really just the plan is to customize that letter. And we're just going to show you just for one member here. This one's got a lot of members. But then we can just tailor this letter and this contribution summary information for the client. So if I preview this report pack, we're effectively getting the data out of Simple Fund 360, things like names, addresses, members' balances, contributions already contributed. And then this pack could then be emailed out. You can see here it's got the members' contribution, the total super balance, what their concessional cap is. So Alyssa's gone to a lot of trouble here to show what the caps are, how much has been contributed, and what the caps are, so that you can basically have that information filled out by the software. And then there's these additional options here, which we're seeing a number of clients. If you're not aware of this, this is your contribution summary report, where you can have your clients sign off on that is the correct contribution information for that particular member. Okay, because it is a challenge to try to keep up with your client base if they're making contributions or changing funds. This really just is a bit of a ensuring, okay, asking the client, have they got any others? So you can control that contribution summary. A lot of people go, oh, how do I make that signable? You can just go into this option. Where is it? Select the member here. Should be a signing option. Where is it? No, it's not showing for some reason. I might just switch back to the default badge. No, we'll skip that over, but normally there's an option there just sitting to turn on the signing option. To enable that on. It must have turned my functionality off just at the moment. But you can control that. I'll just reselect the tax pack so that the clients can sign it. If I want to basically edit that Word document, I can also edit that Word document through the template function here as well. So what's the Word document actually look like? Hopefully I can show you on screen. In here, and Alyssa's gone to the trouble of basically enabling that sort of Word doc here. So you open up Word and put in, you can see here, the mail merge fields, the members' contributions to help it populate. Now, not everything is populatable, but you can do a bit of combination of populating. So that's how you create that sort of custom letter on the top of that tax planning. And you can add anything else that you want to mention. You might want to mention in here that the caps are going up. So make sure you review what your salary sacrificing. You might want to put that in as a tax planning note for 2022. Okay, so we'll jump back into the presentation. That's custom letters and creating a report pack. That's really it. We're right on time.
Yeah.
Any questions? Feel free to just type them into the question and answers. We'll just take a slight pause for those that need to move on to their next client or do some tax planning. We thank you very much for your time. For those that have got a little bit more time, we'll just go through a couple of questions. So put those in the Q&A, and it's a good opportunity to speak to a product manager or a product advocate and ask us a little bit more about the software.
A lot of questions about the tax planning letter that you just showed.
Do you want to read out the questions, Alyssa, there?
Yeah, so we've got there's a number of people asking whether that template, the custom letter that you just showed, is available in the software
It's
for them to
not.
use.
I'll let you answer that, Alyssa.
So it's actually my my template that I adjusted. I'm sure we can look at doing some work on it and making it available though, Matt, if you're happy to do that.
Yeah, certainly. Look, this is where the custom letters sit.
Yeah.
So the default one, but yeah, that's something we could certainly look at, is creating a bit more of custom letters here.
Yeah.
That's
obviously, from on a firm by firm basis, what you would generally be sending out to the clients and making sure you've got your disclaimers and relevant, I suppose, paragraphs or phrases that you would include in your letter and adding them into it. So definitely can sort of generate the basis of it and then have the ability for people to add it and customize it more so to their firm.
Yeah, that's right. We see some pretty advanced sort of letters getting generated. Just type in mail merge fields into the help file to get a little bit more information on this, but that's certainly a good request.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can, maybe do that in our tax planning 2022.
Yeah. Got a question about when will we know if we get a 50% discount on the pension drawdown for 2022?
Look, at the moment, those announcements were due to expire. It really was a 2-year period. It's interesting. They really came a bit out of the blue. Obviously, COVID, they were really announced. I think it was, my memory's a little bit of a blur last year. But it was around about April they sort of came out. So, maybe they're going to extend it. I do remember, a bit of an old fuddy-duddy, but I do remember about 5-6 years ago during the the global financial crisis, the GFC, they also reduced them. So, yeah, don't really have any insight into the government on that. Alyssa, unless you do?
No, I have no CIA classified information.
All right. Any other themes or questions that you're seeing there, Alyssa, that you think?
No, but the majority have been around the tax planning letter template being available.
I just saw one on the mobile app. Certainly the mobile app is free. It's available. When you control access to the mobile app, you haven't got too many options. I just saw, can you control who's got access? You control access through who you invite. The same invitation that invites you to 360 is the same one that invites you to mobile. And also with the user roles, I just switch to more a trustee. So this controls what the client can see in the app. There is an option down here just to give them access to the mobile application. So you can give them access, but there's not really much else that you can really control in the mobile. They pretty much see the total members balances for all members, I think was the question. Can I hide it? No, generally, you probably wouldn't be inviting the mobile app to a recently divorced couple. Would probably be my non-tax advice. But you haven't got too many options really on it, other than just enabling access to the mobile. There it is there, mobile access, BGL Engage. So you could potentially turn that off for one member and turn it on for the other, but then you might be stuck in the middle if the clients ring you up and ask. So that was just a question.
Got another one about the custom letters, but this one's more around, is there a letter template that's suitable for sort of once you finish the compliance work? So here's the financials for signature and, including the tax refund, payable amount, pension drawdown, GST refund. I know when looking at the letter templates, there are merge fields that pick from particular account balances.
Yeah, that's right. Certainly I see a lot of people doing custom reports and creating custom letter templates. I just typed in custom into the help file. I just always use this up the top here. It's the quickest way to jump, in. We also do, if you mistype it, we sort of type it correctly, a bit like Google does. So this is where all the letter template fields sit. Certainly I see a lot of people do it for tax refunds as part of the financials. Yeah, that's quite common. People use it. All the mail merge fields covered in here. There should be a link, but just type in custom mail merge fields. There's a whole issue of all the different types of tax payable ones in the software. You can also just drag, just the default one that sits here, custom letter, will have all the mail merge fields in it as well. If you just download that doc, it will have all the mail merge fields already pre-filled, and you just literally remove them from that document when you download Word. All right, hopefully that answers that question. PDF statements drop down doesn't work if there are handwritten notes on the statement. Well, it does sometimes. I've actually tried it out. It will work, but if it's a heavy indication of scribble all over it, it can sometimes fail on that. That's something we're always continuing to improve. The more documents you send to our smart docs, the smarter it gets, pardon the pun, but that's certainly, yeah, I've actually scribbled on it. I know a lot of accountants sometimes circle the 30th of June. That's, I have actually tested it. It can read it, but sometimes it's more, one of the things, just a tip, if you're throwing PDF statements and they're not getting read, make sure you're showing the top of the document. We're actually looking at the whole document. If I jump back in to the one I showed you before, I see it does fail from my experience when I'm processing it for my clients that I manage. I'll just do it again. Make sure you're not cutting off the top. Some people just take a photo of the transactions themselves. We actually use the whole document. So, here you can see I've smudged out all the personal information, but it's actually looking at these sort of things. It looks at the whole document to interpret it from a machine learning point of view. Okay, so don't just take a screenshot from this point down. Include the top header. You'll find it definitely increases the accuracy of the document, and try to send it in the order that that you want it to be loaded. It also works much more efficiently if you go in date order. If you start slotting pages in random order, it sometimes does struggle as well. It's got a few human flaws, I think. I never used to like reading bank statements and ordering them. Alyssa, anything else? We've still got a few more minutes for those that might want to throw some questions our way.
There's still some questions about the PDF. That was one. Smart docs, particular fields that aren't available yet for the custom letters. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, Sarah, the custom letters. And I suppose we could look at getting them added in. So income tax on taxable income or loss, franking credits, foreign credits, withholding tax credits, tax installments, pension member names, projected pension calcs, and death benefit clause. Yeah,
thanks, Sarah. That certainly makes a lot of sense. Sarah's certainly one of our advanced users. So that's really great feedback. To push that through. So I'll take that back to the team and see if we can beef that up, because we are also expanding, adding that sort of information to external parties as well. You might have a practice management solution. So we're also looking at getting more calculations, not just in a custom letter inside 360, but also trying to push those out. So thanks for that, Sarah. External balances, I just see. I might just have a quick chance to show you the external balances. We do get that for TSBs. I can see Daisy asking that question there as well. So again, jump into your member contribution dashboard. I find this the easiest. You can go through the member list screen, but I find this the fastest. Go in here, and you can also put in, in the transfer balance dashboard. I'm in the wrong screen. Transfer balance dashboard in here. This is where you can add your external total super balances. So in here, transfer balance dashboard under member, into here, add your external TSB for the years, and then we'll update the TSB so that when you're in the screen that I was in earlier, your contribution caps will show you whether you're over your cap. So what Daisy's really saying there is there's a balance inside an industry fund, and there's also a balance that may take me over that TSB. I may be over that 500K limit or that 1.4 million limit for the bring forward. So that's just how you can record that in into the software, and we'll update that for 2022. We would love it if we could get this from the ATO. I get asked that a lot. I ask the ATO just as much as you guys ask me, where are we at with that? And it's really just discussion stages in trying to, we would love it if we could get the TSB balances drawn down from industry funds. But there's really no movement on that. And we know the challenge, if you're not the agent for that particular taxpayer, you may be the agent for the fund, but if you're not the agent for the taxpayer, we know that's even more challenging for you. So just be aware of that. That's where you can put that in, Daisy. Any other questions? We might just start wrapping it up unless there's something you can see, Alyssa, that's really...
Sid's answering some of them. If you already have a data feed, we do not require download the data to download the data in. So the data feed through automatically. So there's no need to do any sort of manual download into the software.
Yeah, spot on. You wouldn't want to create duplicates. You can potentially cause problems if you tried to load a PDF on top of a bank feed already. You'd have to be very careful of the dates.
Yeah, but I know with that Smart Docs upload as well, if you've got bank feeds switched on and say they start tomorrow, but your bank statement's running through to 30 June, you'd still use the Smart Docs feature and then just delete those last few transactions out that are the first ones that you've got that are feeding in through live before you create it from the bank statement.
That's right. Yeah, certainly to fill those gaps, and bank statements also give you bank balances as well. So, you know, we're certainly not saying use Smart Docs over feeds. Feeds definitely are the most automated way to get the software humming for you and get things really ready for tax planning 2021.
I suppose the big difference as well is that the bank feeds require a one-off authority form to be signed or set up, whereas the Smart Docs it's a great feature and it's wonderful for the clients that point blank refuse to sign bank authority forms, but you're still very reliant on the client sending through that data for you to be able to get it into the software. Whereas with something like the bank feeds, you've got access to the data before you have to go to the client to, confirm or query any transactions. There's a question about what is the significance of the TSB exceeding the TBA at 30 June 2020?
That's certainly a challenging question. Look, there's TSB is a total super balance. Transfer balance account is the maximum you can put into your pension account. TSBs exceeding your TBA, obviously you need to be conscious that your TBA and your TSB gets indexed in one up to 1.7 million, both get indexed. If one's exceeding the other, you would really be limited in your contributions that you could contribute. You really have to be careful about what contributions you can actually contribute once you're over your TSB. Once you're over your TBA, well, then you'd certainly need to be looking at ensuring you don't cause excess pension accounts, and the ATO would certainly be looking at that.
One about create entries. So create entries left on stops bank feeds. Is there a warning? How about a warning that the create entries is not reversed?
Yeah, Peter, I've been tripped up on that one. Good suggestion. So what Peter's saying there, if you actually do a future create entries, it's really the problem. We never used to have it, but we put a lock in there that if you do a create entries, we don't want to feed any bank data into that period, because we assume that, you've sort of finalized. But it can, if you do get tripped up, sometimes I've done it myself and I've created entries just to do a profit allocation into a future date, just to do a what if scenario. So yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. We could take that on board and put a warning when you're probably, we've got a fair few warnings in there, but it probably wouldn't hurt just to let clients know I've been tripped up on that. Just for those that may actually get tripped up, you can always bring the bank data back in, but you'd need to reverse entries and just go back in. So the feed would stop if you did a create entries. You just go back into feed management, click on this particular re-request function here. So you reverse entries and then just re-request your data. All right. So just
make sure you put it in for the date that the data stopped from.
Yeah, that's right. It has got built-in duplicate protection against overloading the same data from the same feed, but software being software, you never know. So I would take Alyssa's advice there as well and just put in the date that the create entries was run to and bring that data back in. So that's just what we call the re-request function. That's sitting in connect, feed management, and then this function here, re-request. Okay, that works for feeds that are coming through the BGL bank feed.
Excellent.
All right, we've got a thank you. So I think that's well appreciated. I think that's a good way to end, Alyssa. Thank you for your time today and generating some really good discussion. We hope clients really enjoyed it today as well.
So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.